Be me, 27, married 2 years to Nathan, 30, structural engineer. Met him during a blackout at our apartment complex, bonding over flashlight apps and warm beer. He made terrible jokes about load-bearing walls while we waited for power. Something about his awkward charm hooked me instantly. Not traditionally handsome, but had this way of making everything feel lighter. Our relationship just worked from day one, easy and natural. He'd leave sticky notes on my coffee mug before work shifts. Spontaneous weekend hikes where we'd get deliberately lost. Sex was uncomplicated, frequent, felt like genuine connection. He wanted me, and being wanted by him felt right. Nathan had these endearing habits that made him feel solid. Triple-checked every door lock before leaving the house. Sang off-key to 80s rock while cooking breakfast. Insisted on Sunday morning waffles even when we were hungover. Used to laugh at his meticulousness but secretly loved the stability. Made me believe maybe relationships didn't have to be complicated. But Instagram kept showing me content about female empowerment. Reels about men only being nice to access your body. Comments saying, if he helps around the house, he's just negotiating for sex. Started wondering if Nathan's kindness was genuine or transactional. These ideas planted seeds of doubt I couldn't quite shake. Then my coworker Bridget entered the picture. 38, recently divorced, treats every lunch break like a seminar on male psychology. Dominates conversations with stories about her liberation from marriage. When she talks, everyone goes quiet like she's revealing ancient secrets. Makes you feel naive for thinking differently. One afternoon over salads, she leaned in conspiratorially. You need to understand something about men and desire. They only value what they have to work for, what they can't easily access. If you're always available, you become wallpaper. I laughed uncomfortably, looking around to gauge reactions. Everyone nodded like she'd just explained gravity. Bridget pressed further with absolute conviction. My ex-husband stopped appreciating me because I gave too freely. Once I started requiring effort, requiring proof of commitment, everything changed. Men are basically children. They need structure and consequences. You just have to stop being afraid of holding boundaries. Her certainty made me question my own instincts. Was I being too accessible, too trusting with Nathan? That night, I lay awake analyzing his every touch and gesture. He was asleep next to me, arm draped over my waist like always. Instead of comfort, I felt suspicious for the first time. Was this affection real, or just another calculated move? Made a decision that night to implement a new system. No more automatic physical intimacy without demonstrated effort. Created actual criteria he'd need to meet first. Wrote them out in my phone's notes app titled Relationship Standards. The list included: must plan 1 thoughtful date per week minimum. Must complete household tasks without being asked. Must give compliments and verbal affirmations daily. Must limit phone use during our time together. Must attend gym regularly to maintain attraction. Only when these were consistently met would intimacy happen. First time explaining it, Nathan looked completely blindsided. We were on the couch. He leaned in for our usual goodnight kiss. I pulled back gently and said, "Wait, did you complete today's requirements?" He froze mid-lean, confusion spreading across his face. "What requirements?" he asked slowly. "My new intimacy framework," I said, showing him my phone. "I'm not just giving myself away anymore without reciprocal effort." Bridget explained that attraction requires maintenance and standards. He read it once, then again, eyebrows drawing together. "You're serious about this?" His voice quiet with disbelief. "Completely," I said firmly. "This creates fairness and intentionality. You demonstrate love through consistent actions, not assumed access." He sat back slowly, setting my phone down like it might explode. "We're married. I shouldn't need a checklist to hold my own wife." I smiled like I'd proven a point. "That's exactly the problem. You want automatic access without earned intimacy." He rubbed his face with both hands, then stood abruptly. "I need some air," was all he said before going outside. Stayed out there for nearly an hour while I convinced myself this was necessary. Initially, he tried to comply with the system. Reserved a table at the Thai place we loved. Left encouraging notes on my laptop. "You're brilliant and beautiful." Brought home grocery store tulips on random Tuesdays. That evening, I let him kiss me properly. Bridget was right. Boundaries created appreciation. I texted the group chat excitedly about my success. Bridget replied, "Perfectly executed. Never let him forget who sets the terms. Following week, he made my favorite stir-fry and organized the closet unprompted. I checked off all his completed tasks. We had sex that night. Afterward, he held me close and whispered, "Can we just be us again, not this performance?" I stroked his hair and said, "Intimacy without standards is just being used." His body tensed, but he didn't argue further. Then his job got overwhelming, major project deadline approaching. Came home exhausted 3 consecutive nights, barely able to eat dinner. Dark circles under his eyes, hands rough from site work. The third night, he collapsed into a chair without speaking. I'd asked him earlier that week to book a restaurant for Saturday. He forgot completely, mind consumed by work stress. No planned date means no physical intimacy per the framework. I stated this calmly when he finally looked up. He pressed his palms against his eyes, voice strained. "I just pulled a 16-hour shift, half the crew didn't show. I've been coordinating inspections personally all day." Part of me wanted to cross the room and just hold him. Tell him it was okay, that I understood, that rules could flex. But Bridget's voice was louder in my thoughts. Standards don't bend when he's tired. That's when they matter most. So I shrugged and said, "The framework doesn't pause because you're exhausted." His chair scraped backward harshly, the sound echoing. "Bridget isn't the one married to me," he said, voice breaking slightly. His eyes looked wounded rather than angry, which felt worse somehow. Then he went silent, pushed his untouched plate away. Went to bed without another word while I sat alone in the kitchen. Started noticing him on his phone more frequently after that. Not scrolling social media mindlessly like I did, but responding to messages from colleagues, group chats from work, inside jokes and memes that didn't include me. He'd step outside to take calls, his laugh carrying through the window. Sounded lighter talking to them than he had with me in weeks. Dismissed it initially as just work stress relief. But looking back, that was the first real fracture. Him finding connection beyond the walls I thought I controlled. Posted an update in the chat anyway. He tried to skip accountability. I held firm. Bridget sent back flame emojis and "never compromise your worth." That week he stopped initiating any physical contact at bedtime. Still kissed my forehead and said "good night, love," but then rolled to face the wall with his pillow tucked against the edge. I tried joking, "Practicing social distancing over here." He smiled faintly, "Just respecting boundaries." I laughed it off thinking he was finally understanding the system. Didn't realize yet he was actually building his own walls. He started waking up at 5 a.m. for gym sessions he'd never mentioned. Came home later than necessary, sometimes with rope burns from rock climbing. Laughed louder on speakerphone with coworkers than anything I'd said recently. Told myself this meant the standards were working, making him stronger. Couldn't see yet that the game was already slipping away. Week later, the checklist sat completely ignored. No flowers, no notes, no carefully orchestrated date nights. He still handled bills and mowed the lawn, but purely mechanical. All the extras that made him Nathan just evaporated. When bedtime came, he did the forehead kiss routine, then immediately turned to face the wall like clockwork. Initially assumed he was testing me, seeing if I'd break first. Bridget always said, "When men retreat, it means they're pouting. Hold your position." So I held firm. But Nathan wasn't pouting. He was adapting in ways I didn't recognize. When I called during lunch breaks, he wouldn't answer. But WhatsApp showed him active in group chats constantly. Same names appearing repeatedly. Coworkers, climbing buddies, people I didn't know. Told myself it was harmless socializing. But he started laughing at his phone more than at anything in our actual conversations. One evening I asked, "What's so funny over there?" He locked his screen immediately and pocketed it. "Just work stuff," delivered with a closed expression. That dismissal stung more sharply than expected. Checked in with Bridget again, anxiety creeping in. She responded with absolute certainty. "That's textbook behavior when men realize they've lost control. He's retreating to reclaim power. Don't give him the satisfaction of breaking. He'll either rise to meet your standards or stay miserable." I nodded along, but privately wondered if he looked miserable at all. He seemed fine, just fine without me. Later that month, we attended his co-worker's backyard barbecue. Nathan was courteous but completely detached from me. Helped set up tables, brought ice from the store, joked with the group. But with me specifically, barely minimum interaction required. No arm around my shoulders, no leaning close during conversations. I made a comment about the potato salad, and he smiled politely. like a stranger being professionally nice. One of his colleagues clapped his shoulder saying, "Man, you've lost serious weight. Training for something specific?" Nathan grinned genuinely. "Not just climbing more lately. Feels really good." They laughed together while I stood there holding a paper plate, completely invisible. On the drive home, I couldn't contain it anymore. "You couldn't even sit near me tonight." He kept his eyes forward on the road. Didn't think proximity mattered much anymore. "Of course it matters," I said, frustration rising. "We're married." He sighed quietly. "Married doesn't mean I'm enrolled in training camp." Few nights later, I decided to try a different approach entirely. If Nathan wasn't going to chase anymore, maybe I'd remind him what he was missing. Lit candles throughout the bedroom. Put on lingerie from our honeymoon. Waited strategically when I heard his car pull in. He walked into the bedroom and stopped, genuine surprise on his face. "You're all dressed up," he said carefully, setting down his gym bag. I leaned against the doorframe, trying to look confident. No framework tonight, no checklist, just us. For a brief moment, I thought it was working. He stepped closer, ran his hand down my bare arm. But then he pulled back, shaking his head slowly. "You're not understanding this," he said quietly. "Understanding what?" I asked, smile feeling forced. "This isn't about candles or what you're wearing. It's about how you've made me feel for months now. Like I'm a contestant earning points in a game show." His voice stayed calm, which somehow made it cut deeper. "I don't want to audition for affection from my own wife." I swallowed hard. "I'm trying here, Nathan. Isn't this what you wanted?" He looked at me like I was missing something obvious. "Not like this. Not as a manipulation." Then he walked past me directly into the shower. That night, he climbed into his side of the bed without any contact. The candles had melted down to nothing. The lingerie got stuffed back into the drawer unworn. I lay there in the dark wondering when everything shifted so completely. After that night, the silence became suffocating. Nathan still handled basics, paid bills, maintained the house, made Sunday waffles. But it all felt automated, robotic, completely devoid of him. No teasing, no random road trips, just obligation. One morning, I found his wedding band on the bathroom sink. "You forgot this," I said, holding it out when he returned from his run. He wiped sweat from his forehead and shook his head. "Didn't forget." Then he slipped it into his shorts pocket instead of back on his finger. Something cold settled in my chest. "What does that mean exactly?" "Means I don't feel like wearing it currently," he said. His tone wasn't angry or cruel, just empty, which somehow felt infinitely worse. I panicked immediately and called Bridget that afternoon, hands shaking while I explained everything. "He's completely shut down. He's not even wearing his ring anymore." Bridget scoffed dismissively, classic male tantrum behavior. "He wants you to panic and fold. Don't give him that satisfaction. He'll cave eventually when he realizes you won't break." But as she continued ranting, I heard something different in her voice. Not power or confidence, but bitterness disguised as wisdom. Looked at her through the video call screen. Sitting alone in her apartment with takeout containers stacked everywhere. Wondered if following her blueprint had been a catastrophic mistake. The actual breaking point arrived on a random Friday. I climbed into bed, rolled toward his side, whispered, "I miss us." He opened his eyes, stared at the ceiling for a long moment, then said quietly but clearly, "I don't." The words felt like physical impact. "You don't," my voice barely audible. He turned to actually face me finally. His voice was steady, almost too controlled. "I don't miss what this has become. Used to come home excited to see you waiting. Now I come home wondering which boxes I failed to check today. That's not love or partnership. That's employment I didn't apply for." Tears burned my eyes. "So what? You just don't want me anymore?" He sighed heavily. "I don't want this version of you. The one who turned love into a scorecard with moving goalposts." I reached for him desperately, but he pulled away. "Not like this," he repeated and rolled over. Next morning, his side of the bed was empty before dawn. Found him in the kitchen fully dressed, car keys already in hand. Leaving early, my voice came out small and broken. "Yeah," he said simply, "helps clear my head." "Clear your head for me?" I asked, hating how weak it sounded. He didn't answer that directly. Just kissed the top of my head like old times. Except now it felt like a goodbye rather than affection. Then he left. Few days later, desperation drove me to text Marcus, Nathan's oldest friend. If Nathan wouldn't talk, maybe Marcus would explain what was happening. Marcus agreed to meet for coffee near his office. When I arrived, he already looked uncomfortable. Like he knew this conversation would be dangerous territory. Thanks for meeting, I said, sliding into the booth. He gave me a tight smile. Sure, what's going on? I hesitated, then just said it all at once. He's different now, completely distant. Barely touches me, doesn't wear his ring. I don't know how to reach him anymore. You've known him forever. What's happening? Marcus studied me carefully, like choosing his words precisely. Finally, he sighed. You want actual honesty? Yes, please. I leaned forward desperately. He's exhausted, Marcus said simply. Not from work, from you. From feeling like nothing he does is sufficient. From having to prove himself inside his own marriage. I opened my mouth, but nothing emerged. Marcus continued. Nathan's the kind of person who gives naturally. You probably know that better than anyone. But if you transform that into job requirements, if you make him clock in for basic affection, eventually he's going to stop showing up. Not because he stopped caring, but because nobody can survive that way. I swallowed hard, but I was just setting healthy standards. Isn't that what women should do? Maintain high expectations? Marcus's jaw tightened visibly. There's a difference between standards and punishment. He felt punished for being himself. When a man can't be himself in his own marriage, he stops being a husband and becomes a roommate. That's where Nathan is now. I blinked rapidly against tears. So what do I do? Marcus shook his head. That's not my decision to make. But if you're asking if he's checked out emotionally, yes, he's checked out. And once Nathan checks out, getting him back is nearly impossible. His words echoed in my head the entire drive home. That night Nathan came in late from rock climbing. His shirt was soaked with sweat, chalk dust on his hands and forearms. He looked strong, centered, calm, and so impossibly far away from me. I folded my arms, steadying myself. Nathan, we need to talk right now? He glanced at the clock. It's pretty late. Which is exactly why we need to deal with this now. He sighed, dropped his bag, sat across from me at the table. I talked to Marcus today, I said quickly before courage failed. His eyebrows shot up. You what? I needed perspective. And yes, he tried to make it sound like I was being unfair. Like I'd turned love into some kind of job. But he doesn't understand us. Nathan, you do. I leaned forward, forcing conviction into my shaking voice. I wasn't wrong about this. I was setting standards, making you earn me. The way every man should have to. His expression flickered between hurt and something harder. You only believe that now because you're scared. If I hadn't pulled away, you'd still be checking boxes. Still bragging to Bridget about how well you'd trained me. The accusation stung, but I lifted my chin defensively. So what if I did? At least I was ensuring you didn't get complacent. At least I wasn't just handing myself over automatically like some naive wife. Do you know how many women would kill for a husband who rises to the occasion like you did initially? I made you better. He leaned forward, eyes absolutely steady. Do you understand how humiliating it felt? To feel like my own wife was grading me like a training exercise? To constantly wonder if you actually wanted me or just control? I shook my head, almost laughing. You're exaggerating dramatically. You're acting like a simple framework erased everything between us. It didn't. I still wanted you, Nathan. I still chose you. If anything, it proved you loved me enough to keep trying. His jaw tightened. I haven't decided yet. The confidence in my chest wavered slightly. Decided what exactly? Whether to divorce you. The word hit like a slap, but I forced myself not to flinch. Divorce, I repeated, keeping my voice level. Nathan, don't be ridiculous. This isn't the kind of issue people end marriages over. Couples fight. Couples challenge each other. You'll see that once you calm down. His voice stayed quiet and cutting. It's not about fighting. It's about trust. And once trust breaks, it doesn't just come back. For the first time, my throat went completely dry. But I refused to let him see defeat. I straightened my shoulders. You're not leaving me over this. You're upset right now, but deep down you know I was right. You'll think about it rationally, and you'll come back around. He studied me for a long, unreadable moment, then stood slowly. I'll think about it. I watched him walk away. Only when I was completely alone did my hands start shaking against the table. But I kept telling myself the same thing on repeat. I wasn't wrong. He just didn't understand yet. Next day I called Bridget, hands trembling, phone hot against my ear. This is your fault, I said the second she answered. You completely ruined my marriage. Bridget raised an eyebrow, unbothered as always. Excuse me. You told me to train him like a dog. To withhold. to treat intimacy like some kind of reward system. And now he's talking about divorce. He doesn't even wear his wedding ring anymore. Bridget smirked, swirling wine in her glass. Oh, please, don't project your guilt onto me. I gave you the framework. You're the one who chose to implement it. You made it sound like gospel truth. My voice cracked. Like if I didn't control him, I was weak somehow. You convinced me that love was a power game. And I believed you. Bridget cut me off, tone sharp. And what's the alternative exactly? Being some submissive housewife. Letting him get comfortable and take you for granted? You forget how he pursued you at the beginning. You think that happened by accident? No. It happened because you maintained high standards. My chest ached. I wasn't happy, Bridget. I was paranoid, controlling, delusional. And now I might lose him forever because I listened to your advice. Bridget leaned back, lips curling into that familiar smug smile. Then maybe you should stop seeing it as a loss. If he actually divorces you, maybe it means you get to be free. Do you know how many women emerge from divorce happier, lighter, stronger? Maybe you don't need him as much as you think you do. I froze, rage flickering into something hollow and cold. Happier without him. I repeated, almost whispering. She nodded like a teacher indulging a slow student. Of course, men drag us down eventually. You'll see clearly once you stop fearing life without him. You'll realize you were giving away your power all along. I wanted to scream at her, call her bitter and delusional, tell her she was fundamentally wrong. But the words caught in my throat. Her voice was too confident, too rehearsed. By the time I hung up, I wasn't sure what I believed anymore. That night, I waited for Nathan to come home from wherever he was. Midnight passed, then 1 a.m., then 2 a.m. His car never pulled into the driveway. All I knew was Bridget's words. Maybe you'll be happier without him. Echoing in the dark while I lay awake in our empty bed, wondering if he was ever coming back, or if I'd already lost him completely.